Should you bite the bullet and take finasteride to prevent baldness? That's the subject of today's video. Hey guys, it's Robert from hairlossdaily.com, the horribly misnamed hair loss blog. My acne's kind of starting to heal up a little bit. I nuked it with some benzoyl peroxide cream last night. So, should you give finasteride a try? And that's totally up to you. In this post, I'm going to talk about the top 10 reasons to give finasteride a chance, I guess. This is again based off another one of my blog posts. I'm kind of going back and recycling some content, but I'm making it a little bit fresh and interesting, hopefully. So, yeah, top 10 reasons to give Propecia, finasteride, whatever you want to call it, a shot. If you want. Yeah, I don't know how many disclaimers I can throw on here. I'm going to shoot for a record, I think. All right, the first reason to give it a shot is that it targets balding at the source. It's the only treatment that effectively targets the root cause of pattern hair loss, the only FDA-approved treatment, that is, that targets DHT, which is the hormone that effectively causes pattern hair loss. All the other treatments are going to buy you some time to varying degrees, but none of them are going to work to the extent that finasteride will. Which brings me to point number 2. It's the best first line of attack against hair loss. That's according to the American Hair Loss Association. And I believe they recommend it unequivocally on their website as the primary treatment for male pattern baldness. There's just no other treatment out there that has a comparable track record. When it comes to safety, well, there are probably safer treatments, I scratched that, but when it comes to efficacy, certainly it's the most effective, proven option that we have. And if you use it, there's a good chance it will help you hang on to your hair for a very long time. In an Italian study, which was a 10-year study, they found that 86% of, there was like 100-something participants. I don't think it was double-blinded or anything like that, but this was 10 years they were tracking these guys on finasteride. And they found that 86% of the patients benefited from the drug, and they also concluded that its benefits did not diminish significantly over time. Number 3. This may be a little bit controversial, but ultimately, based on my research, I've concluded that the side effects are overblown. I probably, for my site, I've written quite a few articles on finasteride, and probably over 100 hours, I'd estimate, reviewing these horrifically written studies in some cases, written by doctors, some of them from different countries, and just based on that analysis, that's my conclusion. As I can't state enough, I'm not a doctor. I encourage you to do your own due diligence. I'm not a shill for Merck, so let's kind of get that out of the way. Do I believe that it's only 1 to 2% of men that experience side effects with finasteride, as previously was indicated? No, I don't. I think it's probably higher than that. Whether the higher rate of side effects is due to nocebo or, people actually experiencing these side effects, that's another question. I think undoubtedly that nocebo is one of the main reasons that more people are experiencing side effects in 2020 versus, 2005. I know doctors are a little bit less likely to recommend it. There are a variety of reasons for that. One of them is probably just that men are less interested in taking it now than they used to be. There's just a lot more bad press for finasteride. Even some legitimate websites are posting articles that, are making it seem like just an extremely high percentage of guys are getting side effects, which really probably isn't the case based on my research. YouTube is one particular source of propaganda in some cases. I've seen quite a few anti-Propecia videos, and it's a vocal minority of users certainly that claim to be getting side effects. I've studied it for quite a long time, and I still don't know if the post-finasteride syndrome, I don't know if that's legitimate or not. It's whether it's psychological. Some men develop those similar symptoms of a, hormonal system crash, whatever they want to call it. Some men develop that on their own without the use of finasteride. So, I don't have the answer to that, but I think, in my opinion, the side effects are a little bit overblown. Number 4, we'll move away from side effects. I'll be talking quite a bit more about finasteride over the coming months as I work on this channel. I'm working on my lighting, working on my camera work, working on my presentation, the whole bit. So I appreciate you kind of working on my acne too. I appreciate you bearing with me as I make these first few videos. I don't know what video this is, number 6 or something. I don't know what order I'm going to post them in. I have some pauses that I need to kind of clean up, and I've rambled enough. Let's get back to the list. Number 4, regrowth is possible. According to the American Academy of Dermatology, finasteride promotes regrowth in about 66% of users, so it's not just for maintenance, unlike minoxidil, which is mainly just for maintenance. It doesn't lead to tremendous regrowth in most users. I mean, it can help, but and its effects wane over time to a much greater extent than finasteride because it doesn't target the DHT like finasteride does. The Italian study that I cited above, 48% of participants saw improvements over time. That's 10 years. So, I mean, it can really just stop balding in its tracks for a lot of people. Going over my post, I have a picture of Donald Trump's hair. Yeah, he's been using finasteride for a long time. Huffington Post enjoyed pointing out that it can cause mental side effects and impotence in a small percentage of users. They really stepped into those side effects in one of their articles, got a lot of shares. So yeah, that's not more bad coverage for finasteride, unfortunately. But Trump's his hair's hanging in there. I made a post about it. It's iconic, you could say. And for a 70-something-year-old man, it's hanging in there. Perhaps has for finasteride to thank for that. Number 6. I didn't do number 5 yet. It's cheap. Finasteride is a cheap medication. The generic, I don't know, $5 a month, something like that, is really cheap. And, the name brand is going to cost more. I don't know what it is, about $30 now. You can get Proscar also, very cheap. Couple bucks a month. You break that up, and that's 5 milligrams, the dose that people use for BPH and enlarged prostate. You just break it up into 5 and use it like that. Or some people are doing the low dose finasteride, which is quite effective. You get about 80% of the benefit using half as much finasteride as I believe the stat. So that's another nice option. Yeah, very, very affordable treatment. It's, not like a hair transplant or PRP or laser, helmet. These are all expensive treatments. Finasteride is pretty cheap. It's not going to break the bank. It's going to be affordable for most people. Number 6, it's basically hassle-free. Compliance shouldn't be a big issue with finasteride if you elect to use it as a hair loss treatment. I mean, if you choose another treatment like Rogaine, for example, minoxidil, rubbing that into your scalp twice a day, that can be a hassle. Compliance is an issue with minoxidil. It's a noted issue. And but finasteride, you're popping a pill once a day. That's not that big of a deal compared to minoxidil or a treatment like laser therapy. You have to wear a stupid helmet for a couple times a week for a half hour, whatever it is. Finasteride, it's just one of the easier treatments out there, and that's definitely one of its biggest advantages, and why I think association like the American Hair Loss Association recommends it as the primary treatment, the best treatment. Number 7, hair loss is progressive. All right, that's a Captain Obvious statement. But I do have a point. I guess I think that many people wrongly assume that with hair loss, kind of the worst is over. They thinned out maybe for a few years and it's going to kind of stop. But it almost always gets worse. There are people that get lucky and just recede a little bit to Norwood 2.5, 3, whatever you want to call it. But most people aren't that fortunate. They continue to thin and recede over time. And that's why maintenance therapy, even a regrowth therapy like finasteride, can be extremely beneficial. And it can really help, especially if you have like aggressive case of early onset hair loss. It starts going on you in your teens or early 20s, and you're much more likely to just go legitimately bald. And finasteride can be a lifesaver, a follicular lifesaver in those cases, undoubtedly. Number 8, the peace of mind is another advantage. When you use finasteride, you know that you're throwing the kitchen sink, I guess, at your hair loss, you could say. Um, Natural remedies, saw palmetto, pumpkin seed oil, minoxidil, laser therapy, all might work to some extent, but none of them are going to work to the degree that finasteride will. And if it doesn't work for you, you're still going to have option. There's dutasteride, which blocks both the 5-alpha reductase inhibitors, and it's just a DHT destroyer, basically. That's kind of the nuclear option if finasteride doesn't work for you. But it's the best mainstream weapon we have against hair loss. And if you use it, it doesn't work for you, at least you can kind of say you tried. You won't have those lingering questions about it. Whereas if you just use minoxidil, it might just thin out on you. You might lose it. If you use the finasteride, then there's a good chance. You'll have that peace of mind knowing that you did the best you could and you fought the good fight. Number 9, we're wrapping it up here. It may work on its own. I think it's really like the only one that you can use. God, the lighting's... Sorry, I apologize. I'm still figuring this out. It may work on its own. It's like one of the only treatment options out there that doesn't require supplementary treatments. In a lot of cases, you can just take the pill once a day and you may be all set for years, decades. For a lot of people, that's the case anyway. Minoxidil, it may work as a standalone therapy if you have more mild to moderate hair loss. It may not. It's much less likely to work in the long term. You'll continue to lose hair with minoxidil ultimately. Not to say it won't work, but it doesn't work over the long haul like finasteride will. Number 10, one more Captain Obvious moment. Hair's nice. It's going to give you the best chance to save your hair. And if you made it this far, I think it's safe to say that your hair is important to you. A lot of guys look good bald. That is, Jason Statham, The Rock. You've heard the list, obviously, of men who are rocking that bald look with swag, and you may be one of them. And I'm going to make some videos about embracing hair loss as well. But if you're like a lot of people and you feel like hair is going to give you that slight edge with dating, career, etc., then finasteride may be worth a try for the reasons I listed in this video. Ultimately, whether you try it or not, that's totally your call. Hopefully, I gave you a little bit of information to help you make your decision. And that'll conclude this video, I think, for the day. My name's Robert. HairLossDaily.com if you want more information on treatments, articles. I reference one of mine in this post. I think I'll link to it. There's a lot of other stuff up there if you're interested. And I'll see you next time. Thanks.